Welcome into the San Francisco 49ers Report. My name is Chase Sr. As always, no matter where you are, how you're rocking with us, I appreciate you for making today's show a part of your day. This show is for the people. This show is for the faithful and the Niner gang. And a lot of you have been asking me, Chase, can you do some more draft talk? We like when you talk about these prospects. Chase, put together a mock draft. We're doing it, baby. Niners mock draft 1.0 from yours truly. We're going all 7 rounds with every Niners pick coming up. Let's begin here, though. Do me a favor. If you haven't subscribed, you're not alive. Hit that sub button right now. We're closing in on 200,000 subscribers right here on the show. But most importantly, I don't want you to miss anything this offseason. So turn your notifications on. Therefore, anytime I publish a video, anytime we go live, you'll get that push notification. We have 24,500 people who have their notifications on. We have nearly 13,000 people who have all their notifications turned on. You'll get notified when you hit that bell icon for a regular video and a live show. So turn those noties on right now so you don't miss a beat with what is going to be a big, busy, and exciting Niners offseason. All right. Niners are first on the clock in the 2026 NFL Draft, which will be taking place in Pittsburgh in April with the 27th overall selection. And the Niners have several needs going into draft time, going into free agency. I think wide receiver is a big one. And I think that San Francisco needs to rebuild their wide receiver room this offseason to usher in a new era at that position. Don't bring back Deebo Samuel. Let Jawan Jennings go if he gets too much money. Get some young players in here who are game breakers. Well, Concepcion out of Texas A&M is that. When I scout him, he really pops on tape. 5'11", but a stout 200 pounds. Really good build. He's declaring for the NFL Draft as a junior. He is a sudden, twitchy athlete who glides very smoothly. He's a very effortless mover. He routinely creates separation. What really stood out in Week 18 against the Seahawks and the divisional round against the Seahawks? The Seahawks secondary was on the Niners wide receivers like Velcro. And nobody on that Niners offense could create separation. Concepcion does that at a really high level. With each year that he's been in college, he got better with Texas A&M, with route running. One thing that he has to work on, and one thing that could drive Kyle Shanahan crazy, the hands. Drop rate of 10.3%. But I don't think he had great quarterback play his entire college career. This past year, it was pretty good. If he links up with Brock Purdy throws a very soft, catchable ball. And I think that could help Concepcion work on some of those drop issues. Targeted 100 times this past year, 919 yards, 15 yards per catch, 9 touchdowns, 7 drops. Again, the drops are a little bit of a concern. And I talked about the route running. When he was at NC State, a little bit raw. He transfers to Texas A&M, starts to get a little bit better. You've seen some growth in his game. And you look at what he was able to do throughout his college career. Pretty good experience and production here. 185 catches, more than 2,200 yards. 25 touchdowns in 3 seasons. Consistently found the end zone. His first year at NC State, he went over 800 yards in 13 games. Year 2, numbers went down a little bit, and the drop issues plagued him. And then he had that career year in 2025. If you want to think about a player who's a better route runner than Deebo Samuel, but can break tackles and moves, kind of like a Deebo with that physicality component to his game, it's Concepcion. The Niners need to get faster and more athletic on offense. KC helps you do that. With the Niners' second-round pick, 52nd overall selection, Derrick Moore, the pass rusher out of Michigan, he had a couple of really impressive reps during the Senior Bowl in Mobile, Alabama. And when he was at Michigan, he had some really good performances. I think he's a good scheme fit for San Francisco in this 4-3. 6'3", 260 pounds, a senior this past year, has a very quick get-off at the line of scrimmage. And he has everything that you really want, especially for the Niners, at that defensive end spot. Momentum, length, speed, but with the power combination. And what the Niners really look for at that defensive end spot defensive ends who can set the edge in the run game. That's what Mykel Williams did such a great job of this past year. Derrick Moore is comfortable and holds up well in doing that. He needs to be more consistent against the run, but there's a willingness to smash bodies in the run game. Now, what would this mean for Mykel Williams? Well, Mykel's coming off that torn ACL. The thing with Mykel, I think that he can be a game-changing player at defensive end and at defensive tackle. Derrick Moore is more of a defensive end solely, but in that NASCAR package, you can find ways to get both these guys on the field at the same time at defensive tackle and at defensive end. In 2025 for Derrick Moore, 30 tackles, 10.5 TFLs, also had 10 sacks. So that goes to show you right there the stout play against the run, but also getting after the quarterback with those 41 pressures as well, 2 forced fumbles and 1 fumble recovery. And there was consistency to his game. The sacks didn't show up until 2025, but sacks aren't the end-all be-all with defensive ends and pass rushers. Look at the pressure numbers. 14 in year 1, 26 in year 2, 37 in year 3, 41 in his senior season. Some people might think this is a little bit of a reach. For the Niners, I'm starting to fall in love with a fascinating prospect at offensive tackle, Markel Bell out of Miami. He might go a little bit later than this, but I think the upside is good enough to take him here in the 3rd round with the 92nd pick. His measurables are insane. And what better player to learn from than another hulking athletic freak in Trent Williams? Markel Bell at the Senior Bowl measured in at 6'8.5", 358 pounds, 36.5-inch arms, 9-inch hands. And for a Miami team that made it to the national championship, he did a good job protecting the blind side of Carson Beck. Overall PFF grade of 72.1. Again, he's a little bit raw, but we're talking about upside here as a 3rd-round pick. A pass blocking grade, 83.5. Did not give up a sack this season. Only 1 quarterback hit and 14 hurries. The ceiling and the potential of Markel Bell is enormous. Go back and look at one of the pull blocks that he had against Indiana in the national championship game. Pancake City. Give me Markel Bell in the 3rd round at 92 for San Francisco. Then there's Bryce Boettcher. So I'm going in on athletes here because I think the Niners need to become a more athletic football team. Concepcion, elite athlete. Derrick Moore, elite athlete with quick twitch and burst. Markel Bell is just a mountain of a man. Bryce Boettcher, the linebacker out of Oregon, is a fascinating player. Round 4, 127 overall. 6'2", 232 pounds. I'm pairing him alongside Fred Warner. So Bell can learn from Trent Williams. Boettcher can learn from Fred Warner. And he plays a lot like Fred. Range and awareness. That awareness, we saw it on the baseball diamond. He was a center fielder who was able to track down fly balls to his right, left, and was able to pursue them with some of those shallow flies in shallow center. He was drafted by the Houston Astros in the 13th round. Little bit of a raw football player, but under Dan Lanning, he was one of Lanning's favorite players within that Oregon football program, and the guy has great character. He has really good eyes at the linebacker position, and I love the instinctual play that he shows on tape. He is that type of linebacker who sees ball and gets shot out of a cannon. The Niners need to bring in more linebackers and start to build that unit around Fred Warner. This is a player that helps you do that. We'll continue on with my mock draft here in just a moment. But first, today's San Francisco 49ers report is made possible thanks to our fine friends at PrizePicks. Shoot your shot on PrizePicks and get $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5. That's right. PrizePicks is now giving you $50 in lineups when you sign up and play your first $5. PrizePicks makes every dunk, every dime, and every board that much more exciting. So don't miss the chance to get started on America's #1 app for sports picks today. PrizePicks is simple to play. You pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and if you get your picks right, you could cash in. New feature alert. PrizePicks now has early payouts. If your player gets off to a hot start, you now have the option to cash out of those winnings before the game even finishes. How about a 3-pick power play for this upcoming season. Brock Purdy, more than 3,725.5 passing yards. Jonathan Taylor, more on the rushing yards, 1,224.5. And then Justin Jefferson, more than 7.5 receiving touchdowns. Download the PrizePicks app today. Use the code CLNS. Get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. Now we go to round 4. Pick 133. The safety out of USC who is climbing up draft boards going into the NFL Combine, Bishop Fitzgerald. Now, I think when the draft comes around, Bell, Boettcher, Fitzgerald, they're going to be a lot higher than what some databases have them at right now. And I think that Fitzgerald is one of those players who is worthy of a 4th-round selection. 5'11", 205, packs a punch at that safety position, redshirt senior, a lot of experience, transferred from NC State, just like Casey Concepcion transferred to Texas A&M from NC State. Fitzgerald is a ball-hawking safety. The Niners desperately need a ball-hawking safety. Ji'Ayir Brown. I thought Brian Baldinger said it best on the radio. When's the last time he made a big play? Carolina game. Malik Mustapha, better downhill than he is on that back end as a center field safety. It's been a long time since the Niners have had that ball-hawking center field safety. Fitzgerald gives San Francisco that, a 90.8 Pro Football Focus coverage grade in 2025. Also had 5 picks. Zane Durant is a player who I really like. He is definitely a thinner defensive tackle, but I trust the player developmental program of Penn State because they develop some really good pros. So I'm going Durant, round 4, 138, right after Fitzgerald here to continue to bring in some marquee defensive players at that defensive tackle spot. 6'1", 290, a senior. Prior to the 2025 season, he made Bruce Feldman's annual freak list as one of the best athletes in college football. Great first step quickness. And here's my thinking here. CJ West, strong, violent hands, good against the run. Great to meet him and interview him during Super Bowl week. Alfred Collins, 6'6", 330, long wingspan, good against the run. The Niners need to get better interior pass rushers. And I think that Durant has a lot of potential there. The first step quickness is wow-worthy. He has a great motor also against the run, but also against the pass. Because he's smaller, he could struggle against double teams, and he might early on be more of that situational player. But that's fine because you already have some young players there in CJ West and Alfred Collins. And then lastly, let's go to the center spot. I know that a lot of people, including yours truly, have been asking the Niners to address the offensive line early in the draft. It's just not their MO. But we go Markel Bell in the 3rd round, and then we go Pat Coogan here in the 5th round, 171 overall. This is a center that potentially could supplant and replace Jake Brendel. A lot of experience in college, the starting center for a team that made the national championship, got roughed up a little bit against Miami, but that front was more so getting dominated by Ruben Bain and the edge rushers for Miami. Pat Coogan, athletic. I think he could be a good scheme fit. If Kirk Cignetti really liked him, I like him too. I did think about drafting a developmental quarterback in Drew Aller. Drew Aller has great size. He's got a howitzer for an arm. He is so raw. But I'd be fascinated to see what Kyle Shanahan can do with the player of that size, of this skill set, with that arm strength, with solid running ability as well. Coming off a broken ankle, he needed to have a big year in 2025 to go in the 1st round. He got hurt, didn't play well. James Franklin got fired because Penn State was a disaster. So he's sliding down draft boards. I'm really intrigued by Drew Aller. Maybe I'll pick him in another mock draft. Don't forget to give me a follow on social media, by the way. I'm giving you daily Niners coverage right here on the San Francisco 49ers Report, reaching millions and millions of people every month. But I'm reaching millions of people on social media. X, Instagram, TikTok, @Chase_Senior. You can find me on Facebook, Chase Senior Chat Sports.